Good evening, students. I am Dr. Kamala, Assistant Professor of Political Science, New Government Degree College, Serlingampalli, Rangareddy District, Telangana. So, in the uh, previous class, we were discussing about the political thought, right? Today, we are going to discuss about the political thought of Manu. Now, Manu has reflected many ideas about the social and the political views, and he has compiled a book known as Manusmriti. Now, he is one of the most outstanding figures in the history of the lawgivers of antiquity, and it was he who gave the sanctity and performance to socio-political institutions of the land and has left to the Indian world the first code of civil and criminal law. And his most important literary work was Manusmriti, which is actually the oldest than the Mahabharata. Right. Now, his early life, if we take according to the historical records, Manu used to live during the period of 200 AD, and he also regarded as the first lawmaker, and during he not only the first lawmaker, but according to few, he is regarded as the ancient Indian prince, and also according to few, he was popularly known as the son of Lord Surya. See, this is the work, literary work of Manu. Actually, it was written in Sanskrit. And see, the Manusmriti is the oldest text. So, it is a very, very important work which has framed certain rules and regulations to the society in order to maintain the discipline, or in order to develop the administration of the society. So, it is one of the most important work we can say, and it projects an ideal state. See, an ideal state and ideal human conduct, that is a discipline to establish an orderly society and define divine centered life. In olden days, what we used the society used to give more importance to divine and moral and ethical values rather than the today's existing system of society. And Manusmriti is also known as Manu Dharma Shastra or Manu Dharma Samhita. So it is also known as the Manu Dharma Shastra or Manu Dharma Samhita. Okay, and this work of Manu, which is Manusmriti, it contains about 2685 slokas. So 2685 slokas are here, which are generally framed to make an ideal society and ideal human conduct. Okay, and that means that are nothing but these slokas are actually coded in the form of laws, rules and regulations, which deals with the Chaturvida or the four dharmas. The four dharmas. Chaturvida in the sense four. Chatur, four. So the Chaturvida or the four dharmas are there. So the Manusmriti contains 12 parts and they deal with the origin of the state. Now how the state has came into existence. Actually the origin of the state can be traced, means there existed the state of nature, like how Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau in their social contract they have discussed that the origin of the state, how the state has came into existence by entering into a contract, right? Earlier when the state was not there, that is that was pre-social, right? And in that society man used to, or human being used to live in a nature which was existed in the law of jungle. So in the law of jungle, how the animals used to live, so also the human being used to live in that situation, and in that situation it was actually what in the social contract of Rousseau, Locke and Hobbes have stated that it was like a warlike situation and there was no protection to life and property of the individual. So also in this period also there was no safety and security. So all the people, according to the history, all the people of the state has praised to Lord Brahma, okay, the creator. They praised to Lord Brahma to control the situation and to protect the state. So in this way the Brahma has created the king by by the powers of the Ashtadikpalas. So this is how the state has came into existence according to the Manusmriti. Okay, so is it clear, students? Yeah, once again I'll explain you what is the origin of state. Okay, there was actually no state or the no government in those days. So there was a situation where the human being used to live in a law of jungle, and in Telugu ఆటవిక న్యాయం అంటారు. సో ఆటవిక న్యాయంలో ఏంటి, జంతువులు ఏ విధంగా అయితే అడవిలో మృగంలాగా ప్రవర్తిస్తారో అదే విధంగా ఇక్కడ ఏదైతే మనం ఆటవిక న్యాయం అంటున్నామో ఆ ఆటవిక న్యాయం అనేది ఇక్కడ సమాజంలో కూడా అదే విధంగా ఉండేది. ఓకే, అదే విధంగా ఉండేది. సో ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే జంతువుల్లో అంటే ఒక రీజనింగ్ పవర్ అనేది ఉండదు, అంటే ఆలోచన విచక్షణ జ్ఞానం అనేది ఉండదు. కాబట్టి వాళ్ళు ఏంటి, వాళ్ళకి ఇష్టం వచ్చినట్టు, అంటే జంతువులకు ఇష్టం వచ్చినట్టు ఉండేవాళ్ళు. సో that in that situation also the human being was also in the same way like a human being. That is why it is called as law of jungle. సో ఈ లా ఆఫ్ జంగల్లో ఏంటంటే ఒక లాంటి ప్రొటెక్షన్ అనేది లేదు. ద పీపుల్ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ద సేఫ్టీ ఆఫ్ దర్ లైఫ్ and the property. So in this situation the people have praised to Lord Brahma and who is the creator of this world, and they asked the Brahma to protect them, their life and property. So in this situation the Lord Brahma has collected the powers of the Ashtadikpalas. Now who are the Ashtadikpalas? Like can you give the example? అష్టదిక్పాలకులు ఎవరు ఉంటారు? ఎస్, ఎనీవన్ నో అష్టదిక్పాలకులు? ఎస్, వాయువు. ఎస్, వెరీ గుడ్. సూర్యుడు, చంద్రుడు. ఓకే, వీళ్ళని మనము అష్టదిక్పాలకులు అని అంటాం, Right, very good. You know who are Ashtadikpalas. So they Suryudu, Agni, Varunudu, Chandrudu, Kuberudu. So these they are all actually called as Ashtadikpalakulu. Now from their powers, the Brahma has created what the actually the king. This is how the state has came into existence according to uh, Manusmriti. Then the terms and conditions of different castes. See, during this period, the Chaturvarna system has been existed, and they have categorized into different. The caste has been divided, right, based on actually the sector, classes, sections, right. So these are converted into different castes, and they used to their duties, whatever they have to do. So Varna Vyavastha, the different castes have to do different things, right. So that is the duty of the society. So it is essential for the different caste for the development of the society, and the king has to protect the Varna system also. He will means he will lose the qualification of becoming a able administrator if we don't control the terms and conditions of the difference. So every caste has to be within their limits, and they should not cross that boundaries, right. Then five Mahayajnas. In those days, the kings used to perform the yajnas for every traditional these things, and for going for war or something else, they will perform the yajnas so that they achieve success in all their way, right. Then the food habits. Here the most important, see, in those days the food habits, like what we have to eat and what we should not eat. Now today if we see, is junk food is very nutritious food for us? Yes, yes students, tell me. No, it is poisonous food actually. So we should not take. So the in Manusmriti actually what means what food we have to take it and what we have to avoid it. Like in order to make the society or the people to be in a means in a healthy and other nutritious food habits, he has told in this or given the instructions in this book. And he has also expressed his views like civil disputes and the tax system. And there used to have civil disputes, and the tax system, what tax should be imposed and what should not be, and how much it should be collected. That system of systematic maintenance of the ideal state was expressed in the social and the political view of Manu, right. Then the method of questioning the witnesses in the courts. Okay, see, we have different procedures to question the criminal, right, and not only the criminal but also the witnesses. Sometimes the witnesses may not express their views in a right manner because of fear. So the method of questioning is also is mentioned over in this part. Then the duties of wife and husband. See, in society, the family plays a pivotal role in the development of the society as well as the state. So they have to be very honest. The wife has to do her duties giving birth to the child and taking care of the children, and she has to serve the husband and the elder people. So what the wife has to do, because this is where the role which plays by the wife is very much important, because the family environment take place shape here only. And the husband has what the husband has to do. He has to do a lot of things, and he has to take, as the head of the family, he has to take all his family members, right? And the distribution of wealth and property among his family members. So the duties of wife and husband are today are also very important, we can say. And the distribution of wealth and property. See, for the sake of distribution of wealth and property, most of the families fight among with or quarrel among with each other, right? Then the duties during emergency. For example, if the state has imposed any emergency in the existing situation, then what the duties have to do, both the ministers as well as the citizens, right? Then the sins and confessions, papalu mariyu bunyan. Okay, so the sins, for example, if we do a sin or a crime, then we have to confess that, right? Then only we will have a good life towards, right? Vanaprasthanam. Now, what is Vanaprasthanam? The Vanaprasthanam is a stage where the elderly people, after Gruhasthashramam, they will leave their families and go to the forest in search of meditation or in search of God, right? So this is known as Vanaprasthanam. Next, enlightenment of soul. Now this is very much essential for every person. We need enlightenment of knowledge of the soul. And the appointment of ministers is very much important in Manusmriti, and it is one of the part which comes under the Manusmriti. Okay. Here, the Manusmriti marks the socio-political advancements in ancient India. So, it was universal and satisfied the needs and aspiration of everlasting fabric. And Manusmriti is one of the, as I've told, is one of the ancient legal text among the many Dharma Shastras of Hinduism. And actually it is the first Sanskrit text to have been translated into English in 1794 by Sir William Jones and by Sir William Jones, and was used to formulate the Hindu law by the British colonial government. So you need to remember that it is the oldest literary text which is in actually the text was in Sanskrit, and it was translated into English in 1794 by Sir William Jones. This will come in most of the competitive examinations, that you need to remember. Alright, now we'll discuss about Manu's views on social and political thought. So, according to many scholars, people initially see what I have explained in earlier. See, they used to live in the state of nature prior to the origin of an organized state. They see there was no organized state, and people used to live as they like, and they used to be very self-centered and selfish also, and they used to think they won't be in a cooperative manner, and they used to think in terms of mine and thine. So that was the state of nature that was existed during that period. So the state of nature was like a state of war. See, in a state of war, no one will have the peace environment. If we want the overall development of the individual or the state, we need the peaceful environment. But in the state of nature, if we see, there was like a warlike situation, and there was no harmony, peace and goodwill, right? So there was no harmony, peace and goodwill. Now if these three are lacking, then we don't have the good life at all, we can say, and there is a meaningless to our life. If all of these are there, then we'll be having the happiest life in the world, right, students? So see, in our house also, we should not create the state of nature like situation, because it was like a state of war. We every time we quarrel with our parents, right, for the sake of anything, right? Or we don't even respect our parents, right? And we will behave in an arrogant manner. Then what is the meaning of human being? Just tell me. Yes? Will you be like that? Yes, most of the students, I think you are like that only. You are living in a law of jungle, not in a in an organized society. See, in an organized society, what happens? You will listen to the elders, right? You will respect the elders, and you won't have any arrogant behavior towards your elder people. So what happens if you won't listen? Then it will become like a state of war. Continuously, what happens in your family? There will be disputes among your family members, with your brothers, with your sisters, with your parents, right, for want of anything, right? So that's why we, in order to have happiness, we need what? Harmony, peace and goodwill, so that we can have peaceful life and peaceful environment, which is very much essential, not only during that period but also today's present situation also. Now actually this period where the state of nature was existed during the Manu's period was considered as the darkest period. See, if we don't have light, then what happened? It becomes dark, right? If there are no sun, no moon, then what happens? It will look like a dark. We can't see. We have eyes to look after everything, but if it is dark, then if we have the eyes also, it is like a blind like situation. So remember that we should have what? The harmony, peace and goodwill, in order to have light in our life, right? So it is described as the darkest period in the human history, a situation that is more or less equal to Hobbesian Leviathan. See, Hobbes has propounded social contract in order to put the end to the state of nature, because it was also like a state of war. Okay, there was no security to life and no security to property. So it was a situation that is more or less equal to Hobbesian Leviathan, right? Now in this circumstances, it is stated that Manusmriti, that see, the people approached it to put an end to the state of nature. Okay, so in order to put an end to the state of nature, they have approached Lord Brahma, to the who is the universal creator. So to relieve them from the torturous life. See, in the state of nature, it was like a torturous life because there was no harmony, there was no peace at all, right? So that then the Creator gave them a king to maintain law and order. See, there should be one sovereign to look after the society or the state. Then only what Manu has dreamed of, the ideal state, that can be possible. Today also, if we don't have the law and order, what happens? Yes, it will turn into the situation like how the darkest period was there during that time. So also it would have been continued. So see, today's modern leaders are controlling the country with the help of the constitution. See, the constitution in modern times, we have constitution. In the Vedic times we have Manusmriti to maintain law and order, and there used to be a king. Okay, the king used in those days was a sovereign to maintain the law and order, and those who do the illegal things or some crime, then they will be punished, right? So thus, according to Manu, the state is not an institution that evolved gradually but was a sudden creation. So it was not an institution actually. Because of the situation that existed in the state of nature, they have prayed or praised to Lord Brahma. In that situation, all of a suddenly the state has came into existence. Now the state has actually 7 organs, which are how human beings have different organs, so also the state have 7 organs. They are the king. Yes, the king will look after the state. Okay, the king have the authority to punish the people who do illegal things or who make theft of the property, or who make criminal, who may be of criminal background. Then those will be punished in order to have fear among the citizens, so that the ideal citizens can be turned in, and they will be become the part and parcel of the development of the society, right? Then the ministers will assist the king over here, because the king cannot look all the matters of the society. So the minister will guide or will look after other issues, and that will be brought to the notice of the king. Okay, in order to maintain the law and order of the society. Now the territory is very important and the territory, in this territory the king will rule the boundary where his territory comes under the sovereign powers. Now today we have the sovereign power. The sovereign power should not cross its boundaries. It should be within its territory. It should be within its limits. Then only the sovereign will become a successful, right? Otherwise there will prevail like a war-like situation if we cross our territory or the boundaries over other areas of the boundary, right? Then the people are very much important in a state, and it has become one of the organ of the 7 organs, right? And without people, the king cannot rule anyone. So the people today, the people have with the help of popular sovereign, they are electing the representatives. Today they are called as prime minister, right? Other ministers are there who are looking after the administration of the country. But in olden days, the king used to look after the state with the help of minister over the people. Then treasury is very much important in order to maintain the state, because it is the king who has to look after the financial matters, and he has to distribute the equal amount, because everyone will pay the taxes. The people will pay the taxes, and it will be filled in the treasury. And the treasury, what happens, in order to develop the infrastructure from treasury, the amount will be allocated, right? Then the army. See, the army plays a crucial role even in modern days also. Not only in the past but in present also, the army is playing an important role in protecting the nation from other countries, right? Because we have different territorial boundaries, so that boundaries has to be protected by the army. Then allies, we should have friends also, right? For example, the geographical the area in which we live, we don't have uh, every resources that we need. Sometimes the location of the territory might be different. See, in some territory we have some type of soils and some types of resources that which cannot be available in other part of the territory. So in order to have that goods, we need to have an alliance with our neighbor countries. Then only they will supply the products which we want to have, and at the same time we can also do the trade and business with other countries when we have the allies, right? So the seven, what are the seven organs? Yes, the king, minister, territory, people, treasury, army and allies. And today, what are the essential elements of the state in modern democratic states? Yes, what are they? Population, territory, government, sovereignty and international recognition, right? So these are the 5 important elements of today's modern state. Okay. See, now Varna, actually Varna system. What is actually Varna? Now Varna is actually a categorization, okay, or a class, right? So it can be a count or it can be classified. So Varna actually is taken from Sanskrit term, okay. It has been derived from Sanskrit term vir, vir, vr, vir, okay. So it is actually to cover, to envelop, count, classify, okay. Vargalu ani Telugulo antaru. So that is Varna. Now Varna system is actually the social stratification based on caste, okay. Now 4 basic categories are defined under this system. Chaturvarna system, or the in Telugu Chaturvarna Vidhanam. So in Chaturvarna Vidhanam we have Brahmins, right? Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Now how actually they had played an important role in the society and for the development of the society, we will now discuss, right? Now actually the king is has to protect this Varna system. Otherwise what happens, if Varna system is not protected by the king, then the king is considered as what, he is not an able administrator. So the qualification that the king should have is to control the Varna system. So we'll discuss one by one, right? Now who are Brahmins actually? Now from where they have been origin? Yes, do you have an idea about from from where they have evolved, or from where they have been originated. Okay, Brahmins have been originated from the mouth of Brahma. So their profession should be is teaching, performing yajnas and karma kandas. Okay, and they are considered as intellectuals, and they are the what the considered as the upper in the Chaturvarna system, upper class in the Chaturvarna system. So the Brahmins have been originated from the mouth of the Brahma. That is why they are considered as upper strata of Varna system, or the upper class of the Varna system. So their profession is mainly teaching, right, and performing yajnas, and they are considered as intellectuals, and they don't even have the punishment if they do the any such wrong or illegal things. Only the punishment is that only they can be elevated from the state. That's it. That is the punishment they have given. But the remaining three sects which are there, like Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, they have different punishments. Okay. Now the second one is the Kshatriyas, and they have been originated from the shoulders of the Brahma, and their profession is to do like warriors or administrators, or to become the kings. Okay, Kshatriyas, right? And Vaishyas, and they have lot of courage also. The Kshatriyas have lot of courage. See, if you don't have courage, you cannot go for war, or you cannot dictate the people like how the kings will dictate the people. That if you don't have that capable of dictating the people, then you won't be able to become an able administrator, right? Administrators also from Kshatriyas, because they are courageous people, right? Now the third Varna is Vaishyas, and their profession is to farm, or the agriculturists and traders, right? Business, their profession is that, and they play a pivotal role in conducting the business of the state, because it brings lot of wealth into the treasury of the state, right? Now Shudras have been, and the Vaishyas have been originated from where? Yes, from lap of the Brahma, and Shudras from the foot of Brahma. Okay, Shudras from the foot of Brahma, and they are considered as what? Workers, laborers, and they are considered actually as slaves also. And we have lot of untouchability practice of has been practicing in the society, that should be removed. Today also the Shudras is considered as untouchables in some parts of North India and in southern parts. So that should be eradicated, though the Constitution has provided under Article 17 that untouchability is a crime, but still people are practicing in a way that they want to do, right? So that should be avoided, though these varnas are actually categorized in order to bring a discipline in the society, and these four varnas have to do their duties accordingly. What happens, there will be, if everyone are doing their allotted duties, then what happens, obviously there will be a development or the overall development of the society can be possible. But in the negative sense, it has been done like this, right? The four varnas actually see, what I have already told you, the Brahmanas are have originated from the face of the Brahma, right, from the mouth of the Brahma, and the Kshatriyas from shoulders, Vaishyas from lap, and Shudras from foot. So the four Varnas originated from the body of Brahma. And at the top of the hierarchy where the Brahmins, who were mainly teachers and intellectuals, came from Brahma's head. So head is in the top of the position. So that is why they are considered as the top of the hierarchy. And Kshatriya, or the warriors and rulers, came from his arms or the shoulders. And Vaishyas, or the traders, were created from his thighs or the laps, right? And at the bottom were the Shudras, who came from the Brahma's feet. The mouth signifies its use for preaching, learning, etc. The arms, protection. Thighs, to cultivate or business. Feet helps the whole body. If feet is not there, then the body won't actually stand also. So why people will think in a negative way that the Shudras are untouchable. If Shudras are not there, then the whole body collapses. That we have to remember. So the duty of the Shudras is to serve all the others. The subcaste emerged what the present existing society is there. The subcaste emerged later due to intermarriages between the four Varnas. Okay, we'll continue the remaining class tomorrow. Thank you.